Hello everybody, Beth's Golden. Thanks so much for joining me today. I am going to make a shadow box card out of this really fun new line from Pink and Main. It's the Beach Babe, and this was released in June 2018. I absolutely love the coffee mugs that this company puts out. I have a couple different sets. A Christmas set and a spring set. So this is the summer set. I thought it would be fun to make a shadow box card, so that's what I'm going to do today. The first thing you're going to need is a card base. And if you don't have a card base, all you have to do is take an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock and cut it in half so that it would be 8.5 by, so that, yes, it'd be 8.5 by 5.5. So if you don't already have cards made, go ahead and cut that down and then just score down the middle with a 4.25 line. Now, my card base is a little bit funky. It's one of those card bases from Recollections or an off-brand. So this is a 4 by 5 card base, but the measurements I'm going to give you today, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to be using a card base, and then I want to pick out one of these fun pieces of paper from this to do also. Kind of liking that one. So we're going to go ahead and just pull this one out. And you're going to pretty much use the entire sheet for this project. The thing I need to do is I need to cut this down to the length of my card, and I believe my card is 5.5, so I need to cut this down to 5.5 first. Alrighty, and then from here I'm actually going to start to score it. Like I said, this card is an odd shape, so I'm going to be scoring it at the half mark, half-inch line. And then I'm going to score it from there, the 4-inch line, but you would score yours at the 4 1/4 line if you're using a typical A2 size, but I'm not. So you basically want this centerpiece to be the same size as the front, 1/2 inch. So I'm going to cut this at 4.5. If you're using an A2, it would be the 4 2/4, the 4 1/4 line, and the 4 3/4 line. So now you're left with this. But before we adhere this to the inside of our card, I need to cut a circle in it because I'm going to create a shadow box. And I'm actually going to use both sides of this circle. I'm just using, you can use a die cut if you have a die machine, like I have a Cuttlebug and I do have some nesting circles, but this, I like this size for this, so I'm just going to go ahead and use this. And I'm just going to, and for the front of this card, I'm going to keep it kind of simple. And I'm just going to use the opposite right here on the front with a little sentiment. Okay, so let's start to assemble our card. I need to get some good tape, and I first am going to take and line up my crease with the edge. I do not want to line this up where it folds. I want to line up the edge like so. Oh, but before I do that I need to cut this down. I need to take about a 1/2 inch off of the back of this card. By removing a 1/2 inch off of the card, it allows my card to lay flat, and it also allows the shadow box to fold up, and it'll lay flat and fit inside of an envelope, which is what I want to do. So your front of your card is going to be longer than the back. All right. So for this, I'm just going to take some double-sided tape, and I'm going to run it right like so. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to line the edge, not my scored edge, but the cut edge to the scored line right here. And I'm going to fold it over so that it adheres. I'm going to make sure everything is lined up perfect. Okay, and so then that picks it up like so. So we're going to go ahead and start to do the inside of this, decorate that up, and then what you do is you're going to, at the end, we're going to do adhesive over like so, and then adhere it, and then when you open it, it will give you a shadow box effect. But then when you close it, it closes nice and straight and flat. All right, so for the inside, I am going to use these cute little images, and I'm also going to, on the outside, I'm going to put this right here. So I'm going to do like a sentiment, and then maybe something down here as well, like maybe the little gal here. I'm not quite sure yet. We'll play it by ear. So I'm going to get my stamping platform next. I'm using my Tim Holtz Tonic Studio platform. I like this because you can use clear or rubber mount on it. All you have to do is just make sure that whatever type of stamp you're using, it's in the left hand corner facing you, and you can read it. Like rubber's backwards, so I know I need to use clear. And if you ever want to switch it, pull it out like so, pop it down, boom, and now I'm ready for rubber, but we're using clear. So I'm going to place that there. I also like that it can come off of the platform, so I don't have to trim my paper down. I can just use this. I'm just using cardstock. It's nothing wonderful. And I'm going to stamp these images separately. And for this image, I'm going to go ahead and use the girl in the mug. And this is called MERMAID Coffee. That's the name of this. And I will have links for you provided. And I'm going to take this comes with 2 magnets, but I ended up buying 2 more because I lose them, and I always seem to need more magnets. So I'm going to line it up like that first. I'm going to press it down and pick it up. And then I am going to go ahead and ink it up with my Memento pad, because I'm going to use Copic markers on this. So I'm just going to get a very nice coverage on this. You can use a clear acrylic block if you like. However, I like to use the platform because sometimes I will go in, usually I go in and just do 2 stamped images just to make it nice and crisp. So that's my first one, and I do want to go in with a second one. This is my second one. That's perfect. I'm going to go ahead and just clean my stamp off, and then I'll do the next stamp, And then I am just going to do this matching little cute little one, right, like so. I'm going to do the same thing again using that same ink pad in the black. And I'm going to do it one more time. All right, and now I'm going to stamp out some sentiments. Coffee makes life mermazing. I'm just going to stamp this one right in the center right here. And as you can tell, I'm leaving quite a bit of space, and that's because I'm going to use my Cuttlebug to go ahead and die cut out these images. I bought the dies to go with it, so I just want to make sure that I have enough room on my dies. And I'm gonna stamp this sentiment in a color. There's the Brutus Monroe Oz for this. It's a really pretty, I think it's a pretty summery, beachy type color. Go good like for underwater themes. And this is going to be for the inside sentiment. And I'm just going to do it one more time. All right, let me clean that stamp off. I'm going to put my circle roughly where I think it's going to go on the front. Just going to be just like right up there. And I'm not going to keep the circle down as I stamp. Well, yeah, I guess I could. And for this one, I'm going to be, I'm going to do Coffee Helps. And I'm going to go ahead and just pick this up with my platform again. And I'm going to get for you as many of the direct links as possible to everything I'm using in this video, so you don't have to go on the search for it. There's one, and let me go ahead and do two. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, so I by no means am an expert at how to use Copic markers, but I do know a few things that are helpful that may help you as well. So let me go ahead and share that with you now. Whenever you color with Copic, you want to put a piece of just scrap copy paper under it, and the reason is because as you color, it's going to seep into the paper, and you don't want it to, you want it to seep into this so that it doesn't seep into your glass mat, which is the worst, or like the self-healing mat, because all that will happen is it will soak back up into your image, and then you get that sloppy look. So to avoid that, you just put a piece of scrap paper down first. So I'm going to do her hair blonde, and that's the one I'm going to start with first. So I'm going to use 3 different colors on it. I'm going to be using Y11, which is pale yellow, Y13, which is lemon yellow, and Y19, which is Napoli yellow. So the first thing I need to do is I just need to color in all of her beautiful hair. And I'm doing that with the lightest shade. Your lightest shade is actually going to be your blender as well. I know that Copic says that you can, they have a colorless blender, but that's such a bad name for that particular marker. It's not a blender. It's actually a highlighter or a color eliminator. So if you've been trying to blend with your Copic colorless blender and have no luck, It's because you have fallen into the same thought that a lot of people do in thinking that it actually is what it says it is, and it's not. These are blendable markers, but how you blend it is you're going to use the lightest shade of color that you're using on an image to blend. So I'm just going to make these little gals pretty much identical. All right, so I'm gonna, and really when you, and I didn't do it this time and I need to get into the habit of doing it, but whenever you use a Copic, in order to avoid it from flooding, you want to open up and use it open with both ends. That helps it from flooding, which I didn't do. I'm still trying to get in the habit. Okay, so now I'm going to use the Y13, and I'm just going to go over and put this on around her face and loosely where she would normally have some shadowing. So you're going to want to follow the illustrator's lines on this, like right there, I know, and pretty much on the edge of everything is where you want to have some of this shadowing. And this is your second color. And I'm going to go ahead and just kind of do the same thing with this. I'm more dotting on this than anything else because the image is so small. I'm going to be done with the second color. I won't be using it again, so I can put that back. Now we're going to go through with our third color, and this is going to be my darkest color, and I'm just going to go over the hairlines that have been provided for me by the illustrator. And I can also go over some spots like where the crease would be and around her face where there would be some natural shadowing. And I'm just going in and I'm just adding some dark. All right, so from here, I'm going to go back over because this is looking a little, it looks good actually, but it's looking a little bit streaky. So I want to go through and just blend it all out. And this is why having that paper underneath is so important, because you are going to get that bleed through. And you know you're doing a good job if you can see the color on the back. So we're going to go through and just blend this out with, and see, I did it again. I should have it open. And something that I did on, I'll show you another card that I made with this, is on these, there's two different ends on a Copic, and I like to use this fine on the little hair pieces. I think it just goes on really, really nice, and it blends out beautifully. So I didn't do that on this one, but I do like to do that. All right, and then I'm going to go ahead and just blend her. Okay, so the hair is done, and now I'm going to go ahead and do the skin tone. She has such little skin tone showing that I'm only going to use 2 different colors. Normally I would use 3, but for this particular one, I'm just going to use 2. So I'm going to start off with the E00. And you know, she's under the water. She doesn't get much sun, right? So I'm just going to have her the lightest that I can do. Okay. I'm going to keep this out because, again, it's my lightest shade, even though I'm using 2. And then from here, I'm just going to go in, and where that hairline meets, I'm going to go in and just do some shading where there should be, you know, some shadows. Not much, just enough to add some dimension. Okay, so I'm done with my E01, which is my pink flamingo. And then I'm just going to go through one more time and blend her out. And there we go, we're done with that. So I'm gonna finish coloring her. I'm not gonna be so concerned with the shading and things on the rest of her. I just wanted, actually I'm gonna do something with this, is I'm gonna go ahead and give her a green, cute little top. And I'm just gonna do all of these in green. And if you notice, I'm just kind of, I'm tapping, I'm not really coloring per se, I'm just kind of dotting it. Sometimes it's the best way to do it, is just dot it. And I'll do her tail a little bit different, but just for her fins. Go ahead and color in her tail. So for her tail, I'm going to use this beautiful B04 Tahitian blue. Now I am going to go in with my colorless blender and I'm just going to remove some color. And I'm just going to, not a lot, just enough to show. I'm not trying to blend, I'm simply trying to remove some of the color. And as you can see, it is lightening up. So this is a fun way to go through and just add some highlights to your project. All right, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to go ahead and do the background. She is in water after all. So I'm going to do the background in a frost blue. I want it to be nice and light. And I'm not going to be adding any shadowing to this. Now we need to get the top done. And so for the top, I'm going to actually do a light grape. And now I'm ready to run this through my Cuttlebug with the dies and get it all trimmed out. I am so sorry, I had to turn on my fan. So if you hear that in the background, that's what it is. It's super loud, but it's really good. I have sweat dripping down my back. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just trim this down slightly so it will fit through my Cuttlebug. And I'm going to save this because I can do more stamping and things on it. And the paper that I used is just, it's a bulk paper I got at Michael's on sale in a pack. I think I paid $3 for the pack. So it's not, you know, super sophisticated, high quality stuff, but it gets the job done. So I'm just using my very old Cuttlebug. I don't even know if they still make this particular look. But it has gotten me through and I absolutely love it. All right, I'm going to actually die cut these out one at a time. And the reason is because when I have gone through and done it more than one at a time, when I've done both, it can actually jar it and get it to not line up perfectly. So I'm going to do the little one first. And I'm just going to line this up. And I'm going to go through, go ahead and just run that on through. And there's my sweet little coffee cup. And we'll go ahead and do the next one. Provide quite a bit of space between my stamped images because I was die cutting it, and I wanted to make sure I didn't get it too close, because when you get it too close, then you have, you know, it will go into other images, or oops, see, and look what I did. I caught it before. That wasn't right. I moved it. This is why I only do one at a time, because just getting it to line up well with one is one thing, but trying to get it lined up with two is quite another when you're cutting images. If you weren't cutting images, it's not like it would really matter. I mean, if you weren't, yeah, if you didn't have colored in images that weren't detailed and you were just cutting shapes, it doesn't matter. You can run them all through. But when you're doing detailed images like this, you really, really want to just go through one at a time. All right, so there's this one. And let's go ahead and finish assembling our card. I do need to cut out my sentiment. And that's still a little bit too big. So I'm actually going to take and freehand it with some scissors. Now, when you freehand it with scissors, oftentimes you won't get a perfectly straight line. So what you want to do, which I'm going to do, is distress the edges on this, which is super easy, and then ink them. And I have a distresser, but if you don't, you just have to slide it right up on the edge of your scissors, and it'll distress it beautifully. All right, so let me go ahead and ink the edges of that, and then we'll put it all together. So the first thing we need to do is, let's do the front right here. And I'm just gonna put that like that. It's gonna be super simple because the inside is where all the pizzazz is. I love working with two-sided paper because you really, really can get a lot of use out of it, and I just think it's a really good value. Now, if you're not so concerned about this going through the mail, this would be super cute on Pop Dots. You could just pop that up. That'd be adorable. But the whole purpose of this is to pretty much have the whole thing lay flat. So I am going to go ahead and keep it flat. And then I have these really cute glossy dots. They're silver. They're also by Pink and Main. So I'm going to add some of these. Do one up there, and then okay, so my front of my card is done. All right, doesn't look like much, right? Now, we want it to not look like much. It's still cute though, because we're gonna do the inside, which is gonna be awesome. So I am going to, I'm trying to think what's easier, if I should do, yeah, I need to get it adhered first. So I'm going to flip it over, and I'm just going to use that really good tape again. And this time what you want to do is you want to line up this second line to the crease. So you're going to do it flat again. Make sure it's all flat. We're going to take this one. And I'm going to do a second sheet. Right, so my whole goal is to get that edge to be equal with the front edge, which it is. So there we go. Now, when I open it, it gives me a beautiful shadow box. So I'm going to go ahead and apply her right there. And that is just about perfect. And I am going to put her in with my shadow box popped up. And then I'm going to take some of these cute little guys again. And I'm just going to do 1. 2 and 3, and then we'll just do 1 off, actually 2 off to the side up here. 1 and 2, and then we can go ahead and flatten it out like so to put on our sentiment, which is going to go right about there. And then there we go. We have a card that is perfectly flat and will fit into an envelope through the mail. To show you, here's my envelope. Here it is. It goes right on in perfectly. Look at that. No problem at all. Then when they receive it, take it on out. Oh, how cute. And then open it up. And boom. There you go, have it. You have a cute little shadow box. Let me show you another one that I did as well using this entire line. Everything that I used today, I used on the other line. I used the same paper pad, the same stamp set. Let me show you that one. Only I added some dimension around the front that actually does create a really cool shadow. So this is the other one that I did. We were made to drink coffee. And then you open this one up. And there she is. And see how there's that fun little shadow right there. And I just took, there's a piece of pattern paper in that Beach Babes pack from Pink and Maine that are these waves. And so I fussy cut out the waves and then I adhered it to the underside and makes it look like she's swimming in something. Again, another simple on the outside type card, and then you open it up and it's so fantastic. So if you are interested in any of these, anything that I used, I'm going to have the links provided for your convenience down below. Please go ahead and use those links. It'll take you hopefully directly to everything that I used. And it also lets the company know that you guys came from my site, which helps me. And I do have affiliated links, so it does help fund my site as well. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. If you have any comments, do the same. Please, please, please share this if you enjoyed it, and give this a video a thumbs up if you liked it. Until next time, happy crafting!